Hey guys, this is Kim with Old Soul Farm. I've decided to take a video this evening and just kind of show you around the garden, show you what I've got growing. So in this bed here is just some spearmint. I grow it in there so it doesn't spread and go crazy like some of my other mints have. A problem that I've had in my garden this year is that a bunch of gullies were cut through. When it rained really hard, it cut a gully through there and back in the back over there. So I decided to use it to my advantage a little bit, and where it was the deepest right there, create a pond, like a little water garden. So I've been working on that, and then I'll get some more soil to fill that up. But I've also decided to go ahead and start putting some small permaculture swales in my garden too, wherever I can. I can't just completely destroy the garden right now to put in swales, but I can put some in. So today I worked on these swales right here. It's just to kind of help catch water, slow it down, and then I'll probably have a way to where the overflow can go somehow get to that little pond there. But I ended up planting some wildflowers inside there and some green beans in that bigger one. And of course it's mounded up right there like a swale. And then I've got to get some more dirt to fill all that in. This is my oregano, and on the other side of it is peppermint. These are leeks and some more leeks, and the rest of the leeks that were right here fell in, and so I had to replant them on another side of my garden where I could find some space. Those are getting eaten up by bugs. I'm about to pull those out. I've got some sweet basil there, some borage, and it's evening time right now, so the bees have mostly gone, but the bees have been all over this borage. They absolutely love it. Chamomile that also fell into my gully, and so I planted it right here, and it's not been doing real good. It's probably just about done. This is my plantain that I just took from my pasture. It was tiny little plantains, and I transplanted them here. And whenever I see these little seed stems, I pinch them off so that my plant doesn't die, and it just keeps on growing. So I'm going to look for some of those real quick. So when you keep these little seed stem thingies pinched off, the plant grows huge. See that? Give it some nice compost, and it just really thrives. I actually transplanted a couple of these that were right here. They were getting too thick. So I transplanted, I guess, a few of them over to my flower garden, and it looks really pretty. That's stevia. These are my strawberries. I've got everbearing in the back and Junebearing in the front. Some more borage. And this is my little pond in the making, but it's also kind of like a swale. It is cut through gently on this side, but it's got a more steep wall on this side. So there's my oregano again, and these are some green beans my 6-year-old planted. I've got some holy basil over there, some chard right over there, and maybe like a broccoli right there. And right there is parsley. And then right here is Russian tarragon and yarrow. The yarrow is beautiful. I love this stuff. The butterflies love it. And I guess the yarrow and the tarragon love each other because they just grow right here. You can't hardly tell which one's which, but they grow really well together. On this side are my potatoes. They're getting ready to be harvestable. Some more borage. I've got a couple of broccoli still doing great. Let's see. My daughter planted some really long, not regular Chinese noodle beans, but they're supposed to be like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet long beans, trellising beans. So those are coming up. And then she planted some sort of bush style cucumbers on this side. And I think I planted some dragon tongue beans a couple days ago on that side, so they're not coming up yet. This is mammoth dill. I've had so many people tell me that they can't get dill to grow. And I don't know if people are putting their dill in the ground and covering them up or what they're doing. I have no idea. But all I do is take a handful of dill seeds and I just walk around the garden and I just spread them everywhere. And they end up just coming up all over the garden, and I love them. And I plant enough that the bugs can have some too, and it's no big deal. This is a pumpkin plant, I guess, that a friend gave me because it was growing in her friend's compost pile, and so she was helping her give some away. And I got 2 of them, but the other one died. But this one's doing amazing. So that's pretty cool. This is my asparagus bed. Some people don't know that asparagus has fern-type tops like this. Let's see if I can find one that looks like asparagus that you might recognize. I'm not seeing any right now. I was harvesting just last week. Oh yeah, here's one. See? Asparagus. Right here. So, I can harvest that right now. I can eat it raw, which is absolutely delicious. Here's another one. But if you let them keep growing, these parts right here turn into those ferns. And so, I think these are 4-year-old asparagus. Yeah, they're 4. And so I can just kind of come out here and harvest whatever I want to. You don't really want to harvest much until they're at least a couple years old. Today I just planted some more green beans right there and right there. I like to fill up whatever space I can with green beans after I've planted everything else. This is my corn, sweet corn. It is so tall. So in this corn bed, a few years ago, I started it out as the back to Eden method. So it was just a big layer of wood chips on the ground. And then the next year, I added more wood chips to block out the weeds. But since then, I've grown other things in this bed. But these corn, let's see, I'm about 5'4", so let's say that's like 7 feet tall, at least. But as you look down this way, they get shorter. And I think it's because I haven't really amended that side of the garden as much as I have over here. This has had compost and other things growing on it. And so it's more fertile on this side than it is that side. So those corn, they're starting to catch up now, but they were really short on that side. Right here was my wheat patch. I harvested that last week. And then my 6-year-old wanted to plant pumpkins, small pumpkins. And so we did that. And they're starting to come up. And then in between the pumpkins, I've planted some sunflowers. So we should get a big pumpkin patch here with some big mammoth sunflowers poking through. That'll be really pretty. Okay, we'll go back over here. I've got tomatillos planted across this trellis. But that's a 4 o'clock, like a flower. And so that's just kind of come back. I used to have a bunch of 4 o'clocks right here. And then I felt like I'm wasting this trellising space where I could be growing food. So I pulled them all out, but that one stayed, I guess, came back. So I'm just going to leave it. The blooms are pretty. These are more green beans all across there. And that is my chamomile. It comes back wild every year. I need to harvest it again. These are green beans, a huge patch of green beans. And we'll walk down this way. And I've got some spinach here that some of it's starting to bolt, so I need to go ahead and harvest it. It's little baby spinach. It'll be good. some more borage. My 6-year-old planted some sunflowers, tall and short ones here. And these are a bunch of brassicas that I planted late that aren't doing so great. I've got cabbage bugs on them really bad. So I did take my best ones and I moved them, but I'm just going to leave these here. Well, I don't know. I might pull them up soon. We'll see. This is my garlic, and it's almost done. I'm just waiting for those bulbs to swell. So the greens will get a little more brown before they're ready. I start those in October, and usually I harvest about June. Some more wild chamomile. These are some holy basil that also come up by themselves wild every year. These are Egyptian walking onions, which are perennials. They're basically like chives. You can just snip them off anytime and use them as green onions. They're perennials. They come back on their own. They die back and then they come back all by themselves. I've got some watermelons growing here. Some more wild chamomile. And some cantaloupe. Some more chamomile. Some more green beans. Some more leeks. And some carrots right there in front of my potatoes. This is anise hyssop that came back from last year. Another plantain. Those are my strawberries, which I showed you before. And then these are the brassicas that I just moved because they were getting eaten by bugs over there, and it's just getting really hot, so it's more shady over here. So I'm going to see how they do over here. And then these are my onions, and it is my first year to have success growing onions. I've been harvesting a few about every other day. Right now these aren't ready, but they're getting close. So I'm excited about that. And then, these are broccoli. They have like doubled in size in like 2 days. Maybe I'll actually get some broccoli out of them. There are some bugs on there. I don't know if you can see that. But these are doing good. Here's some more onions that got started a little later. This, I think, is some bok choy. And I planted a little bit of kale. And my kale just didn't come up very good this year. Usually I have a ton of kale. And I decided only to do a little bit anyway because I don't eat it very much. So I'm okay with there just being 2. Let's go back the way we came. Go around this cattle panel. Alright, these are marshmallow plants and some leeks that fell in my gully whenever it caved in. And so I just found this extra spot here and moved them, and they're doing great. Some more chamomile. And then right here, I don't ever plant right here. This is usually just grass. But I pulled all the weeds out of here last week, and I thought, you know what? This is a nice bare spot. It's a perfect place to garden. It extends from my current garden, and so I decided to plant some cowpeas, also known as black-eyed peas here. And they're coming up. They come up really fast. But these will vine and spread all over and create a nice, like a living mulch. And I've never used them like that before, but I keep meaning to. I've been wanting to, and so we're going to see how it works. See if it'll keep the weeds out from right here. I've heard that you can cut it back before it flowers, or when it's flowered, I'm not sure. And that's when it's supposed to put the most nitrogen down on the ground, I think. So we'll try it. And then I've got 4 squashes right here, and 4 squashes behind this cattle panel. And I didn't label it on purpose. I didn't care. I was just kind of wanting to get these in the ground really quickly when I was out here. So I don't know which one is which, but one of them is patty pan squash and one of them is butternut squash. So we'll find out when they start growing. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm excited to have those. In here, I've been trying to get a few things growing and they're not doing very good. Like lemon balm. It's so tiny still. I have such a hard time getting that started. And then a toothache plant and some mountain mint. Mountain mint is a delicious lemony mint, kind of like lemon balm, really. But it's just got a little bit of a different flavor. But it's very lemony and it's really good. Anyway, that is my garden this year for 2023, and it's almost completely filled up. I like to, I don't just make straight rows, row after row, to plant my garden like most people. I just find a place, okay, there's some extra space. It needs to be filled up. What can I put in it? Right now I've planted everything I need to plant. So now, if I want to fill up that space, I should probably plant some black-eyed peas or green beans. I love green beans because I can a ton of it. My kids actually like them, but people like to buy them too. So I may put some more green beans here. In fact, I've still got all this open space that I might even put green beans there. Just keep a little tiny walkway. You really don't need much walkway in a garden. So I just find places for things. Like these are a bunch of brassicas, but I've got some holy basil growing right in the middle of it. I don't know. I like the patchiness. And I like how some of these things, like my chamomile, just comes up wild and plants itself wherever it wants to be planted. And it does great wherever it chooses, versus where I choose. Sometimes I do dig them up and I put them over here. I don't think I did that this year though. I did last year. But anyway, I have been asked how I keep weeds out of my garden and my walkways, and I do have weeds. I mean, look at all that grass trying to pop up. Oh yeah, there's my little moringa tree coming back from last year. That's pretty cool. But I do have weeds, and I use, there's a couple of names for it, an action hoe or a stirrup hoe. I use that to get, let me show it to you, to get my weeds out of my garden easily. I do try to get weeds out by hand when I can, but this is the action hoe. It's got this stirrup looking metal piece, and you just scrape like that. I can't do it one-handed right now, but it basically just cuts underneath the plant. Let me get it up close. It just cuts right underneath the plant, so it cuts the plant from the roots. Sometimes it'll even lift it out. But it helps keep my walkways clear for me. It doesn't work very well if you have a thick mulch, because it's kind of hard to get under the mulch. But I do no-till gardening, which is where you lay down cardboard. As you can see, I've got some feed bags that I use sometimes too. So I lay down feed bags or cardboard. If you do feed bags or some kind of brown paper, you need to do thick layers of it, because those weeds will come through. But then you top it with either mulch or compost. You can't just leave the cardboard or the paper by itself. It's got to have some sort of mulch on top to help block those weeds. You put that on top and it really helps kill the weeds, and it makes the worms love the brown paper material, so it makes the worms come. They till your garden for you. They add worm castings. It's amazing. But see all this grass right here? So this grass had taken over this area here, and I've done no-till here before, but I never got it back there, and so it was creeping through. And so I just redid this area last week, so I still need to re-cardboard and mulch that area and all through here. So hopefully once I take care of all that, it won't be so bad. But that's basically how I started this whole garden. And it didn't start this big. I mean, this is really big, but it didn't start that way. It started very small, just a couple of patches like this size and that size. That was my first year, And then the next year, I added about that much more. And every year, I just add more. I don't mean to. I keep thinking it's enough. But I find reasons to expand in some way, just like that area right there. And right now, I am watering with the water hose. That's what I've been doing. I'm kind of thinking about possibly next winter or spring or fall, maybe putting in swales, just removing everything and starting over, and make swales coming all the way down, and then having trenches on the sides that feed water into the swales, and then having a water hose or rain water the top of the swales or the trenches, and then the swales will get filled in with water. I just think it'd be a quicker, easier way to water the garden, but it'd be a lot of work. So I don't know if I'll end up doing that. I'll show you the high tunnel real quick. I almost forgot. The high tunnel is pretty cool. It's a great way to trellis tomatoes and cucumbers, but it gets extremely hot in here in the summer. So I don't really like coming out here in the summertime. But here's some tomatoes. I've got my first fruit growing. And, plants do amazing under the greenhouse plastic. But that being said, so do the weeds. So weed control out here has been extremely difficult. And that's why I'm kind of overwhelmed with the high tunnel. Getting some flowers on my tomatoes. I'm excited. I'm not exactly sure how many tomatoes I've got out here, but I've probably got 70 or 75. I've got some cucumbers coming up that I planted a little late. These ones I did not plant late. So I've got them trellising. It's a cucumber plant. They grow so well like this. I keep all my tomatoes and cucumber plants growing along only one stem. I cut off all my suckers and only allow one stem. So a sucker is when you've got, I'm going to show you what a cucumber is like. Cucumber's got its main stem, and then it's got a leaf. See, a leaf. And then it would have a tendril. I think it got cut off, or it hasn't grown yet. It has a flower and a growth point, a new growth point. So this would become a new plant. So I take those off. The flowers can stay, the tendrils can stay, and the leaves can stay, but the new growth points have to come off. So all these flowers, hopefully, might turn into cucumbers, maybe. But I just go up looking for suckers. Okay, so here we go. We've got this leaf here. We've got a tendril that's attaching to my ladder, a flower that's not open yet, and this is a new growth point. I'm going to snap that off. I don't want that. That would make a new plant, and it would take a lot of energy. Look at that. That's the tendril. That's a flower with a cucumber growing, the leaf, and the growth point. I'm going to take it off. So only the top can have a growth point. It's going to keep growing. It's going to grow so much that, let me show you how it's attached. I've got this string. If you have a bar low enough, you could just attach the string to a bar, but I just tied string going across that this string is hanging on, and it goes down, and I've got these little tomato clips so they don't hurt the plant. It holds the string right here in the clip, and then it holds the plant up. And as this plant grows, I'll raise the plant up and reclip it. And then this cucumber plant will get so big, it'll actually wrap around there. But what I can do is just start sliding it across, further across on there. So my cucumber plant will go across that way. So it'll keep it off the ground, and it'll stay trellised. It'll stay clean and dry, and it can get as long as it wants. And that's what I do with my tomatoes as well. And I get a ton of fruit. I mean, look at all those flowers coming up. It's putting all its energy right now into fruit production because it's not focusing on all the producing all the leaves. There's basil. So these are Roma tomatoes. The Roma tomatoes can sprawl across the ground. They don't need to be pruned. They're going to put off all their fruit at one time. You'll harvest it all, and then it'll be done, and you can pull them out. You don't have to worry about diseases or anything like that because you're just going to pull them out when they're done. But they put off a lot of fruit, and they're usually paste type tomatoes. The rest of these, some of these I still need to trellis. That's why the ladder's still out here. I haven't finished. But these are some more indeterminate tomatoes. So indeterminate, you want to keep pruned and trellised. Determinate, you don't have to prune, and they can just sprawl on the ground. So anyway, I've just been trellising these this past week, so still kind of working on that. And then over here, I've got some little peppers. They're taking a while. That's a jalapeno. It's like a jalapeno without the spice. I got some poblanos. I like my poblanos. These are eggplant. I always grow too many eggplant. I love eggplant, but nobody else in my family does. And then nobody ever wants to buy them, so I end up with too many. So I'm settling with 4. But look how all these weeds have just gotten out of control. I'm going to have to come in here soon with my hedge trimmers and just trim it back before I can mow or pull weeds or get rid of them in some way. Here's some just bell peppers. These are my favorite sweet peppers. They're called Lesia, I guess. Lesia, I don't know. They're like a bell pepper, but they're extremely sweet, and they're shaped a little more like a teardrop, but you let them get red, and they're the sweetest peppers I've ever had. Some more jalapenos, and that's it in my high tunnel. I've got lots of work to do in here. I do have a drip system, which is nice, because if I didn't, there's no way I could water all this and my other garden outside. So this is a drip system that I use, and it works really well. I have it on a timer, which is nice because you can change based on how hot it is. You know, you can water more often or less. And it just has these little holes every foot, which is plenty. And it waters the garden. I put this together myself. I got the kit at Lowe's, and it's super helpful. Look at this. Because of the cardboard and compost and leaf mulch that I've put out here, see how this dirt is all bumpy? It's like little balls. Those are worm castings. It's poop from worms, but it's free fertilizer. A bunch of roly-polies in there too. But I can very easily, look at that, find a worm all throughout this place. That's how fertile it is. Those are the castings. That's how you know you have a good garden. But that's why I like no-till. No-till brings in that cardboard. See, I've put cardboard in here. Compost and mulch, and it just brings the worms, and they do the work for you. I haven't had enough cardboard in this huge high tunnel. It's a 100-foot high tunnel. And so I just haven't had enough cardboard to fill up the whole thing. I almost have. But, I mean, these weeds they still find a way through your rows where you plant your things. And the edges, they come in from the outside. And, yeah, the weeds are just really difficult. So I've got to figure out something to do with those. So if you have any suggestions for me, let me know. I'm thinking about doing some kind of huge cover crop in there next winter, maybe fall, winter. Anyway, I don't know. So I hope that you have enjoyed my little tour. If you have any questions, let me know. Or suggestions, that's fine too. Anyway, until next time.